Are you ready for your first question?
Yes.
This organization has a long and rich history, with each year finding its own definition of Samahan. With an ever-changing community coming in and out of our doors, it can be difficult to understand the priorities and needs of our community. In your perspective, what do you believe this organization needs right now, and how would you, as chairperson, work to address those needs for the community you serve?
Thank you, Reagan, for that question. Can you repeat the question and just the question?
In your perspective, what do you believe this organization needs right now, and how would you, as chairperson, work to address those needs for the community you serve?
Earlier in the question, I also just want to preface, you said something about each year finding its own definition of Samahan. Just from also my experience from being a general body member to also an e-board member and just changing individual, I want to also emphasize that while the organization's definition of Samahan changes every year, I think that continuously each individual also has their own definition of Samahan. And my goal also with that is to welcome those different definitions by creating a space where people feel comfortable and being able to express themselves and find those definitions for themselves. What I think that comes down to is what we've all been saying, everyone here, is that one-on-one interaction. What I think this current organization needs is definitely to be strong internally so that we can do those things externally, especially for the community. So to reflect on this year, I feel like we've had so much transformative change constitutionally with our positions, not having much precedent, and just being hungry in general to want more, to want that change. And I think more importantly in doing so, it sounds very menial, but to just be of support. I think as chairperson, it's important to be a backbone, to be that support, and just have all hands on deck and all eyes and ears on everyone on that board. And I think it's also a learning process, and it's also worth to have the effort to define these practices so that we can add to them. So in terms of working to address the needs for the community that I serve, I think that comes down to collaboration. I cannot decide those needs for the community, and as much as I'd love to, I don't think I can know exactly what the community needs in every single aspect, and I think that's why we have our pillars. So social, community, education, political, all encompassed with culture, aka our go-go's. So I think with that, just communication and being present, being there, having all these events, but showing up, having something to say about these events through experience. We have these pillars for a reason in their respective lights. And I think that with collaboration and all together, having those reflections and those practices and growing needs and talking about them is the best way to address those needs for the community.
Thank you, Leilaney. Are you ready for your next question?
Yes.
AB Samahan is commonly known for its events, traditions, and visible impact, but its deeper value lies in the relationships, cultural responsibility, and sense of community it builds. As chairperson, how would you identify aspects of the organization that are often overlooked, and how would you ensure that your leadership improves on these less visible experiences like member experience, internal culture, and sense of belonging that aren't always immediately measurable?
I think my answer for this question also just ties down to a little of what I just said for the previous question, is also being strong internally. We can't have these events and have all these aspirations and build on having more attendance if we are not strong internally as a unit. Also going back to my speech, giving people a reason to show up, especially not just at our big annual events like Sama, HSC, Friendship Games, this year known as Field Day, FACN, a bunch of things, but giving them a reason to show up to our more tight-knit ones like SOAR sessions, ABLE workshops. I think, or could you repeat the latter half of the question, please?
chairperson, how do you identify aspects of the organization that are often overlooked, and how do you ensure that your leadership improves on these less visible experiences like member experience, internal culture, and sense of belonging that aren't always immediately measurable?
I think that as a board and as chair, it's very important to have attendance, to expect attendance from other people. I think when people see that we are passionate and that we care, that gives them this incentive, like, they care, maybe I should care, maybe I should show up. All these people are showing up to this event, I wonder why, so I'm gonna go and like check it out. And then from there on, I feel like that's where like the magic happens. I think also with that, while I can also be very like sunshine and rainbows with that, I think we also have to look at it from a logistical standpoint as well. So referring to our handbook, we have this thing, it's called Standard Operational Procedures. So what that is, for some of you who don't know, it's basically this document where there's like a template and it just basically goes down our events. So how they were ran, who ran them, obstacles that occurred, little notes, just opinions, stuff like that, just to like give you guys an idea. And I think those are really important. And maybe if it's not that specific template, but having something like that as a requirement for events. So for example, for Kasama, I have my itinerary, but I think would also be useful, not just only referring to like pluses and pluses and temperature checks, but to also have those standard operational procedures and just including that at the last page of my itinerary to show all of the things that I went through in order to plan that event. I think updating these archives also and putting that on our website and updating that on our drives and making sure that I am like being aware of that as chairperson, as a board member, will help us be aware of the practices that we're having and giving support to also the leaders that come after us, which I think can go a long way internally, building that support and like that idea that we can write down what we're doing, grow from it, reflect on it. And when we put those things on paper and we talk about them and we reflect and we make suggestions, then that I feel is what ensures that we are keeping in mind what our general body members need. So I think, for example, a reflection for that would be having evaluations or just reflection forums like ABLE meetings semester 1 versus semester 2, Kasama program semester 1 versus semester 2, things like that. Pouring into these talks and being able to talk about them, like what everyone said, like what Daniel said earlier, like we should have these talks, regardless if they seem like we don't need them. Because sometimes you don't know if someone has something to say, but they don't feel that they have the platform to say.
All right, thank you for that. Are you ready for your next question?
Yes.
Awesome. Throughout the year, it has been known for officers to experience burnout, lose motivation mid-semester, and experience uncertainty in their roles. As chairperson, how do you not only respond to these moments when they arise, but also build a culture within your board that maintains motivation and accountability throughout the year?
Thank you so much for that question. Can you repeat the question? The full question?
Throughout the year, it has been known for officers to experience burnout, lose motivation mid-semester, and experience uncertainty in their roles. As chairperson, how do you not only respond to these moments when they arise, but also build a culture within your board that maintains motivation and accountability throughout the year?
Could you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah. Throughout the year, it has been known for officers to experience burnout, lose motivation mid-semester, and experience uncertainty in their roles. As chairperson, how do you not only respond to these moments when they arise, but also build a culture within your board that maintains motivation and accountability throughout the year?
I think most importantly, just me being there is also a resource being there at EBMs, being there at events, and also using EBM time for its full intended purpose. From my experience, I would say more often than not, a lot of our EBMs this year ended early. And I definitely agree, honestly, if we don't have a reason to be there, then we can also use our time elsewhere, in our own personal lives. We have plans after this. But I think given when the opportunity precedes itself, if we end early, let's use that time to talk, to reflect. Pouring into temperature checks, roundtable discussions, pluses and pluses, same things I've been emphasizing. From my experience with this year, sometimes I feel like a lot of that burnout can come from feeling unprepared and not knowing who to talk to. Something that I noticed that I feel like changed a lot, or that I changed a lot with this year as social activities chair, was pouring into my orientation. I feel like from what I saw from past orientations with previous social chairs, was that they all kind of had the same information and it felt a little outdated. So I felt like I really wanted to add to that because I feel like so much has changed and there's a lot of ambiguity with older practices. And I think that in order to open these discussions and to help support our board members, a lot of that comes from that first impression. And so I think I definitely would want to pour into retreat, not just having workshops, but just again, to talk. Our current vice internal, Sid Raj, made a really, really great transitioning doc for our upcoming or prospective board members. And I think while it's it's good to have that transition meeting, I think that we should continue to still revisit that doc at retreat. Like what previous people up here said, we use retreat a lot for workshops, a lot of practicing on what to say to GBMers. But I think oftentimes when we talk about our plans, we have these ambitions, we don't know how to see them out. And that's why we become burnt out, because we have all these ambitions and we feel disappointed when we can't do them. But more importantly, sometimes it's just we need to talk about it. I had so many plans this year and I didn't even know how to do it myself. I had to search up how to change the bottom part of my email, certain simple things that sometimes I felt dumb for not knowing. And no one should ever feel like that, especially in this space. So I think pouring into those first impressions in retreat and workshops, being collaborative with top 5, and again, just talking, opening up that it's okay to not know what to do or how to seek those ambitions out. And that's why we're all here, to learn and to grow.
All right, Leilaney, moving into our audience questions. So, your first one. Within executive board, close working relationships can sometimes lead to personal tensions or conflicts that impact professionalism and productivity. As chairperson, how would you navigate situations when professional conflicts between board members become personal, and how would you maintain a respectful professional environment while still acknowledging the human side of those relationships?
I think when it comes to professional and personal conflicts, it gets really tricky. I think just emphasizing on that human side, it's okay. It happens. It's understandable, and it's honestly nothing new. I think in terms of maintaining a respectful and professional environment, some things to know and to emphasize is compromise. Things are case by case. If these conflicts continue to happen and it wasn't just a one and done type of thing, the solution for that is case by case. Just because we saw that conflict occur last year and we use these methods to solve it doesn't mean that we can use the same methods to solve this. And I think that's just important. That comes with compromise, that comes with being understanding. And I feel like another way also to help with that is one-on-ones. I feel like also offering breaks, opportunities to remind board members that they're people first and that their feelings are valid no matter what it is that they feel. And also emphasizing that as chair, how can I help? Allow me or my prospective top 5 to alleviate those stresses that could be potentially causing the problem so that we or I can take care of the issue, the task, whatever it is that we're doing to help feed the general body. And then when we get that issue done, then to take more time to focus on the relationship at hand. I think that honestly, that comes from customer service, like making sure that the customer is being is satisfied. And I feel like sometimes when it comes with conflicts like that, it gets really tricky because you wanna do this idea, or you were supposed to work with someone to see this idea through, and it's the pressure of maybe not being able to collaborate with them, but also not being able to give this general body what they need. And I think when we get rid of one issue, we can focus more on another, which is their feelings, how they feel, what it is that they're going through, and to destigmatize the issue that just because we're on board or we're friends that we can't disagree or we can't have constructive criticism, which is also another thing that I would like to emphasize in retreat, with workshops, with discussion, one-on-ones, and stuff like that.
All right, thank you for that. And for your last question, as chairperson, you are often expected to provide consistent emotional, mental, and organizational support to your executive board, while often receiving less support in return. How would you manage the emotional and leadership demands of that dynamic in a way that prevents burnout? And what approach would you take to ensure your leadership remains sustainable throughout your term?
Today, I would like to reference what exactly the Constitution says for my duties. Not the whole thing, of course, but some sentences and phrases that my constitutional duties state is that I would chair the executive board and weekly general meetings and work alongside the vice chairperson external. Other things it says executive retreats with the vice chairperson internal and vice chairperson external. And I just want to emphasize those words as it is in my constitutional duties, and that it emphasizes that in no way should I feel that I need to bear the responsibility of this organization and the general body by myself. And it says that in the Constitution there. So I think with that, it comes communication, vulnerability. I have a board and a top 5 for a reason. And even in the Constitution, it states that I do not need to do that all alone or feel that I have to bear that weight amongst all the other things that I have going on in my personal life. And with that comes collaboration, it comes vulnerability, being able to talk about it. In my experience as social chair, I've learned that time management is everything. And so the ability to admit weakness is an opportunity to grow and to ask for help. Being chair also doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to be stressed or to show that I am human. I don't think that counts for weakness, that just because I am this face of this organization that I can't feel the way that any of you guys feel at any point, because we're all human. And for just a more tangible answer, plan ahead, of course. I'd love to plan ahead. I think I've proven as social chair that I can plan ahead, and to set quotas for myself. If I have these goals, I want to have these one-on-ones, say them out there to you guys, so you know also what's expected of me, and I'm putting that expectation out there for myself, and I know that I will get it done, and I promise you that I will be able to do it. And if for whatever reason I can't, because life happens, then I will let you know that, because I would never want you guys to ever expect that from me, neither would I want to expect that from you. So